So with that being said, and the projector not working correctly, follow along on your PowerPoint slides, and then we'll just try to work through it from here. So with the employee class, we're creating an array of employees. And let me back up one piece here in this slide deck. So for this example on your slide, I think I'm on slide, what slide is that? Do you know what that is, Chris? Yeah. Yeah, 16. So in this example, they're using just a straightforward regular for loop. And in the for loop, we declare x equals 0. This is going to be the subscript iterator that we apply inside of our array. And we use imps.length, and imps.length, because we've created this array object, length is the length, the total length of the array, not the total amount of populated pieces in the array. That's important to distinguish because you could have an array of empty objects, but it's still, the length will always be whatever you specified it to be. All right, so in this example, they're saying, here's the array at employee subscript x at that first iteration. We're going to assign some values to it. And we're passing into it using the constructor, the start number, which is 101, plus an x, which at each iteration is going to iterate. So this is like an employee number, right? And then it gives their starting salary. So everybody in this company apparently is making $15,000. All right. So let's go down to the next slide. In an enhanced for loop, we demonstrated the enhanced for loop last week in class with the students, if you remember, the student custom class. It eliminates the need for using that value, passing in the x or whatever. In the enhanced for loop, we use the name of the object type of the array. So if our array is a type of int, then in the enhanced for loop, it's going to be int whatever. In this instance, it's employee worker of type, right, of the array workers. And it will automatically iterate through that array in the order it's listed. One of the things that we see with the enhanced for loop is the difficulty to assign values in that respect. Okay. You can also create an array using the initialization type concept. This is where you use the curly brackets and you populate it with the values. You could do this the same with an employee object or a student object or any custom object that you use. You would just use curly bracket, the new object, the new constructor, right? And you'd pass in the values. All right. So let's say we're going to search an array. In this example, we have, this is slide 20 I'm looking at. We're going to compare the value to a list of values in the array. This is a very popular search parameter. And in your textbooks next week, I believe next week, you're going to start looking at the bubble search and the binary search. These are every programming class I've ever taken. That concept of doing a bubble search or a binary search, or some of them are called tree searches. These are always presented. And if you go to get a job somewhere and they ask you programming, how do you do this? Using a bubble sort or a bubble search. This is how you would do it. So in this example, though, we're just iterating through the items in the list and until it matches, right? And then we take the value. All right, so parallel arrays. one with the same number of elements as another. Values in corresponding corresponding elements are related. An alternative for searching is using the while loop. So the same practice, while with the condition, and your iterator that you're going to use is going to be inside the loop. The for loop, the iterator, the incrementing of that iterator is specified in the piece at the top. In the while loop, you're going to initialize that value outside of it and then increment it inside, right? So let's take a look at an example here. So in this example, this is on slide 22. They're using a for loop again. Very similar type operation. In the for loop, we declare our x of type int. We say x equals 0, and x is less than the number of items. A number of items is a constant that's been created up top, as you can see. And on this for loop, they have plus plus x, right? So then you have if the item ordered is equivalent to the valid values, then it's going to check that piece of logic, right? Is valid item true? They're going to mark it as true in this case. And the item price, they're going to set the price. And then down below, they say if is valid item, if it's been set to true, then it's going to give some type of message, right? Otherwise, it's going to say, sorry, invalid item search. All right. Same thing we're seeing here on 23. Same type of search again. We're putting the search parameter, the logic, inside the for loop. In this instance, we're saying, is valid item true? And then we're taking the value from the array item at prices.x, prices subscript x. We're assigning that to an item price. And then we're saying x now equals the number of items. Well, what does that do? That immediately forces our loop to go to the end, right? Because if the number of items is 10 and we start at 0, the loop will automatically exit, right? Because it's going to just jump out of that for loop. This is similar to your sentinel values. If you remember, in the sentinel value, you can break out of a for loop if a certain condition is met. In this instance, we're just automatically setting the x to the largest value. So then when it comes back up to hit the for loop again, it asks the question, is x less than the number of items? In this case now it's going to be, it met the condition, and now x is automatically this bigger item. All right. All right, so what about range searches? Comparing a value to the endpoints of numerical ranges. Find the category in a value in which a value belongs. All right, so let's take a look at this example here. So we in our public static void main method, final int num ranges equals 5. We're saying this is our number of range, our constant to hold our range. And then we declare an array of type int called discount range limits, and we initialize it with curly bracket 1, comma 13, 50, 100, and 200, right? These are our discount range limits. Then we create a second array of type double. We call it discount rates. And of course it holds a comma delimited list of rates. 0.00, 0.10, 0.14, and so on, right? There's a new variable created, customer discount, and then string of a variable called string number ordered, and then int number ordered. These are all the variables they've set up front that they're going to use for this practice. And so then they say int sub equals the num range minus 1. Now think about what that does. Num range is 5. We're subtracting 1 from it, and we're assigning it to the value sub. And so J option pane show input. How many items are ordered? And so you input a number. It gets assigned to the string of number ordered. And then the next line, we take that string of number ordered and we parse it from a string to an int. And we call that the number ordered. And then we have this loop. And so we have a number that's ordered. We don't know what that number is because you've entered it, right? And so we have a loop that says while the sub, and remember now sub is what number? So sub is num range minus 1, right? It'd be 4, right? So sub is 4 if, and we got a condition here. Remember inside the parenthesis, this is the condition that we're looking at. Sub is greater than or equal to 0. Yes, that's true because sub is 4, right? And the number ordered has to be less than the discount range limit of the sub. So what is the number ordered? Well, that's the number you entered. So we take the number you entered, if that's less than the discount range limit of sub, and sub is 4, and so discount range limit, item number 4 would be what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, be 200, right? So the number you ordered, is it less than that? If it is, then we're going to decrement sub again. See that? So now sub will be 3. And here's something you need to catch real quick here. Notice that the while loop, it doesn't have curly brackets. I don't recommend this. Okay, I recommend that you code for readability. Because if the condition of the while is true, then the sub call is made. It's going to decrement sub. That's the only way that's possible. You'll see that? My personal opinion is this is bad coding practice because someone coming behind you, you want to make it very explicit for readability. Always use the curly brackets, even if you're not required to. All right, so then it's going to exit the while loop, and it's going to keep doing this decrement. You see that? It's going to keep calling the sub until it doesn't meet that criteria anymore. And then it's going to give sub after the criteria has been met, where the condition is false. It's going to take the value of sub and get the discount rate. So the discount rate could be any one of those. And that's the customer discount, and then it outputs it. All right. This is called a range match. Now, for readability, I always recommend grouping your items and then putting spaces, new line spaces in between items for readability. For readability, I also recommend using curly brackets. If you go to take the Java, the Oracle Java certification exam, they'll probably mark you off for that. because you don't have to use curly brackets on those instances. But in a job, we recommend curly brackets for readability. All right. Any questions so far about this piece of code? It's very easy to look at this code right now and go, your mind just turned to mush and go, what are they saying? But anytime you're looking at code like this, sometimes rehearse it out loud. Talk through it, because as you say it, you're hearing it and saying it and reading it, the lights will click on and you'll go, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And it helps to understand. The other thing you can do with this code is you can throw it into your IDE and go through it with the debugger and watch what happens. Step through it. Okay. All right. So passing arrays to and returning arrays from methods. This is slide 26. So pass a single array element to a method, same as passing by variable, right? So when you pass a single array element to a method, it's the same as passing by variable. Let's skip on past this here. Okay, let me jump out of that. I'm going to pull up your textbook here real quick. Maybe not. The data is not returning. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Moodle, your classroom. Christian, you came in late, right? Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at the assignment for this week and talk through it a little bit. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at Project 2, the second project yet? Yeah, okay. Okay, so the scenario today is you're going to have a user enter any number of double values up to 15. So think about that. You're going to be collecting these and putting them into an array. Any number of double values up to 15. The user should enter 999999 to quit, entering numbers. Display an error message if the user quits without entering any numbers. Otherwise, display each entered value and its distance from the average. Okay. So the user's value must be stored in an array. Write a method to get the values from the user, put them into the array. When the user enters the sentinel value of 99,999, the value is not stored and no more input is accepted. If the user enters 15 values, the array is full and no more input happens. Then write another method to find the average of all stored values. Okay? So think about how you're going to do that. You guys know how to average numbers, right? Yes? So the average of 2 plus 2 would be 2, right? All right, but you guys don't know what I'm saying. You're going to take the total number, which is 15. You're going to divide it by, yeah? All right, so we know how to do average. Some of you are being smart aleck back there. All right. How much time do we got? We got an hour? Okay, so let's go ahead and open up IntelliJ. And you're going to just have to take my word for what I'm typing. Because the projector is not working at all. Okay, the name of our class. So we're going to create a new class and call it distance from average. Remember, you can use the PSVM tab to create your public static void main method, right? So our code requirement says that we need to create an array of double values that contain 15 elements. So what would we type here? Someone tell me. Double array. Okay. Very good. All right, so Winnie has described how to create the array that holds it. So we're creating double is the type with the brackets for the array. She called it distance equals new double bracket, and then we put the subscript in there for the how big the array is going to be, 15. All right, you guys good with that? All right, so the next part of this says that we have to capture the input. So you could use the J option if you wanted to, or you could use scanner, right? I'm just going to use scanner just because I've used it a lot. So I'm going to create scanner, new scanner, and it's going to take, in the constructor, it takes a system.in, right? I'm going to say scanner use delimiter double backslash in, semicolon at the end. And now we need to create a loop, right? So one of the things I'm going to do real quick here, though, is I'm going to say above my double array, I'm going to create an int final, and I'm going to call this num of entries equals 15. So you say final int num of entries equals 15. I'm going to use that in the subscript of my distance array. And then I'm going to create an enhanced, no, I'm going to use a while loop. And I'm going to put some curly brackets. Now, we want this to iterate, so I'm going to say int I equals 0. This is above my while loop. And I'm going to say while I is less than num of entries. It's hard to do this without you seeing me type, isn't it? This is baffling why the projector is not working. Let me turn it off and turn it back on. Maybe it'll just spring to life. While we're waiting, I'm going to just read through my code again. So I created a constant called final int num underscore of underscore entries in all caps. And I said it equals 15. It didn't even turn on, did it? I always wonder when people watch these YouTube videos and I have conversations with a projector, what they're thinking. But I turn off comments because I just don't want to hear it. All right, disable comments. Let's see if this comes to life. All right, so underneath my constant of num of entries, I have a double array called distance equals new double. You trying to see if it's unplugged or something? I think it runs all the way down there where the cabinet is open. Do you think it got unplugged in the cabinet? Oh no, that's a... Yeah.